Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Continuing with new Lorwyn games, Mathieu wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, plays a Misty Rainforest, and passes. Sammy plays a tapped Temple Garden. Arja draws and plays a Command Tower. Max plays a Forest and casts an Arbor Elf. He then passes, with Mathieu cracking the Misty Rainforest for an Indatha Triome. Mathieu's got a Sunpetal Grove and pays 2 for Wall of Blossoms, drawing as it enters. Sammy plays a Flamekin Village and reveals Subterfuge from his hand so it comes in untapped. He then pays 2 for Rampant Growth and passes. Arch's land for turn is a Gruul Turf, which comes in tapped and bounces his Command Tower back to hand. He then moves to discard and passes. Max draws, plays a Forest, and casts a Viridian Corruptor. Mathieu's land is a secluded courtyard, naming Treefolk as it comes in. He then casts Assault Formation and passes. Sammy's land for turn is a Blood Crypt tapped, and he casts Garruk's Uprising and passes. Arja replays his Command Tower and has enough mana to cast Reaper, King No More. As it comes in, he hits the Arbor Elf and Wall of Blossoms with a trigger, and he gets to steal the Arbor Elf as it hits the graveyard. After that, he passes turn. Max just draws, swings a Viridian Corruptor at Arja, who doesn't block. This is Arja taking 2 poison damage, and Max then casts a Gyre Sage and passes. Matt's got a Temple Garden as well, and then casts his commander with Doran. He ships it after that. Sammy draws and casts Omnath, Locust of the Royal, and as it comes in, it deals 1 to the Arbor Elf. He then plays a Misty Rainforest, giving Omnath a counter, and cracks it to go and find a land, giving it a second counter as he passes. Arja's got an Exotic Orchard, and he follows up with Massacre Girl, Known Killer, and ships it. Max draws, and still has no land, swinging his Viridian Corruptor at Sammy for 2. Sammy takes the hit, which is 2 poison counters, and Max then passes turn. Matt draws and casts the Necrobloom in his main phase. He then plays a Fabled Passage, making a plant token off the Necrobloom trigger, and he cracks the passage for a forest. This makes Mathieu a second plant token, and he then swings Doran at Sammy. It'll be dealing 5 because of the Assault Formation, and it gets +5/+5 from its own trigger, so Sammy takes a total of 10. In his second main phase, Matt then casts Lignify, and enchants it onto the Massacre Girl, and passes. Sammy draws and casts Subterfuge in his main phase, giving its Enter the Battlefield trigger to Omnath as it comes in. It gains flying, and will draw Sammy that many cards when it connects. He then plays a Forest for turn, and gives Omnath a counter. He then swings Omnath at Mathieu. Matt takes the hit, and Sammy draws 6, and then passes, discarding down to 7. Arja's got a Forest, and casts Incremental Blight. He uses it to remove a plant, the Viridian Corruptor, and a Wall of Blossoms, and the Reaper gets to bring back Wall of Blossoms into play. Arja draws a card, and then passes the turn. Max draws but is still missing land drops and has to just pass. Mathieu draws and casts Unnatural Growth. He then moves to combat. He doubles all of his creatures' power and toughness, and sends the plant token at Arja and Doran at Sammy. On attack, Doran pumps the plant token and itself, which forces Sammy to have to block, and Arja just takes the hit for 4 from the plant token. With nothing else, Mathieu passes. Sammy draws and plays out a Sodden Verdure, and then casts Bloomtender. He follows up with his commander, Ashling the Limitless, and passes. Arja plays out Rootbound Crag, and casts a Sinister Gnarlback. He then moves to his end step, and blights onto the Wall of Blossoms as he passes turn. Max draws and has to cast an Unnatural Restoration to bring back the Arbor Elf, and proliferates all the poison counters on the board. He then has nothing else to do but pass. Matt dredges Misty Rainforest with the Necrobloom, and then plays it for turn. He then casts Fecund Greenshell, and he cracks the Misty Rainforest, finding Murmuring Bosk, and revealing Kalfner, the last U, so it comes in untapped. This in turn has the Necrobloom making him another plant token, and the Fecund Greenshell reveals a Sandstep Citadel, which comes into play and makes Matt a zombie token this time. Mathieu then continues by casting Arguel's Bloodfast, and he goes to combat. He swings a plant token, the Necrobloom, and Doran at Arja. On attack, Doran pumps all of Mathieu's creatures with the difference between their power and toughness, and Arja attempts the 2 biggest creatures, but takes 4. Mathieu then passes turn. Sammy draws and casts Risen Reef, my favorite elemental, which puts a mountain into play as it comes in. Sammy then puts a counter onto the Risen Reef with the Omnath trigger, and he taps a Bloom Tender for 3 mana to help cast Ashling's command. He copies Risen Reef, and deals 2 to each of Matt's creatures with the modes. Sammy then has 2 triggers from the Risen Reef, one from it entering, and one from seeing the other one enter, and Sammy puts both cards to hand. He then swings Omnath at Arja. Arja responds by casting Assassin's Trophy, and targets the Necrobloom, destroying it, and then taking the hit. After that, Sammy passes. Arja's land drop is a Riveteer's Outlook, which sacrifices itself as it comes in, gaining him a life, and he goes to find a swamp. He then casts Chandler's Initiate, and then a Lasting Tarfire. Arja then moves to his end step, and blights onto the Gnarlback to draw a card, plus deals 2 damage to each opponent from the Lasting Tarfire. Max draws, casts his Arbor Elf, and has to pass. During the end step, Arja uses Terminate on the Fecund Greenshell. Mathieu draws and casts Read the Bones in his main phase, scrying 2, drawing 2, and losing 2. He then plays a tapped Godless Shrine, and then casts Kalfner. Mathieu then goes to combat, sending Doran at Arja. Arja chumps with the Channeler's Initiate, and Mathieu passes turn. Sammy draws and starts his main phase off by casting Life Finds a Way, and then follows up with an evoked Null Drifter. He draws 2 on cast, and gets 2 Risen Reef triggers as it enters the battlefield. Because he evoked it, he has to sacrifice it, and he gets to make a copy of it with Ashling, and he gets to populate his Risen Reef. Sammy puts an Overgrown Tomb and a Stomping Ground into play off the Risen Reef triggers, and then sacrifices it to Ashling and makes a token copy of it. He then puts the rest of the triggers to hand, plus draws a card off of Omnath. He also gets to add some +1/+1 counters to his creatures. Going to combat, Sammy swings Omnath at Arja and the Null Drifter copy at Mathieu. Matt sacrifices Doran to the Annihilator trigger, which gets him Enduring Innocence to his hand from Kalfner. Mathieu then blocks with Kalfner, and Arja just takes his hit from Omnath. After that, Sammy plays Primal Beyond, revealing a Shriekmaw, and he then casts Eclipsed Flamekin. Sammy resolves the Risen Reef trigger, putting Hedge Maze into play off the first one, and the second goes to his hand. He then resolves the Eclipsed Flamekin trigger and reveals Mutable Explorer. He then casts a Soul Ring to finish things off, and passes turn. Arja draws and casts Yawgmoth, and follows up with an Evolution Sage. He then sacrifices the Evolution Sage to Yawgmoth to remove the Arbor Elf, and steals it with the Reaper as it hits the graveyard. He then moves to his end step. He draws a card and blights off the Gnarlbark, and deals 2 to each opponent thanks to the Lasting Tarfire. Max draws but still can't find a land despite being in green and elves, and just has to pass. Mathieu draws and casts the earlier revealed Enduring Innocence, and then recasts Doran. He plays a Forest for turn, and then casts an Arboreal Grazer, which allows him to put another land into play. Mathieu then goes to combat, swinging Kalfner at Sammy. Sammy chumps with the Eclipsed Flamekin, and Mathieu then passes. Sammy draws and starts off by evoking Fury. And with it on the stack, Arja sacrifices his Arbor Elf to Yawgmoth to give the Bloom Tender a -1/-1 counter. With that ability on the stack, Sammy floats 3 mana in response, and the Bloom Tender is then taken out, which Arja steals with the Reaper. Fury then enters with Sammy getting a swamp from the Risen Reef trigger, and he hits Yawgmoth with Fury's ability, and then sacrifices it and gets a copy of Fury as well. The copy comes in and gets a bunch more Risen Reef triggers, and the token Fury removes the Arboreal Grazer and Enduring Innocence. Sammy then continues the Flamekin Harbinger, and he gets a few more Risen Reef triggers off of that, before searching for a mirror entity and drawing off of it with the last Risen Reef trigger. Sammy then shocks into Steam Vents, and he casts Frostcliff Siege, giving his team haste, trample, and +1/+0. He then continues with the mirror entity, and he puts 5 mana into the X, and then casts Boros Charm to give his team indestructible, before paying only 1 red for a Blasphemous Act to wipe the board. Sammy then swings to take out Mathieu and Arja, plus knocks Max down to 15. He then ships the turn. Max draws, finally finding a land on turn 9, plays a forest, and casts Morrowind the Nurturer. Unfortunately, she's not enough to stop Sammy, and he knows when he's beat and scoops it up. Game review time. I don't know what Max did between last game and this game, but my goodness did his deck not want to perform. Outside of that, I thought the Reaper King No More was super sweet, and I love the idea of being able to play Jund and be able to steal people's creatures and -1/-1 counter synergies. It just seems really, really good. Doran was also deceptively powerful, and I think the whole table was really shocked with that assault formation and Doran's ability smashing face for so much. Lastly, Ashling performed exactly how I'd hoped, with Risen Reef being the all-star. I think if the table had disrupted Sammy a little bit more, especially hitting the Risen Reef or any of the other draw spells, he would have been in a much worse position. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.